Bill Clinton learned early on that the best way for him to reach the top was to appease to as many people as possible. His presidential campaign consisted of showing certain sides of himself to certain people. Once he became president, Bill Clinton decided to nix Bush's economic package because of its lack of social investment and create a new one. Clinton's new package sought to increase social investments through increased taxes. He proposed that 50% of the budget go towards entitlements that the government automatically pays each year, like Medicare or Medicaid, and 33% would go to discretionary programs that are defined by votes of a committee. These programs would include things like mental health and child care. Clinton also sought out a $30 billion stimulus package that was designed to stimulate a stagnant economy. The stimulus package had a lot of holes, but thanks to heavy lobbying by Clinton, the bill passed in the House. Once in the Senate, Republicans and most Democrats disagreed with Clinton's focus on social investment. They thought most of the budget should go towards decreasing the national deficit, so funding for social programs was cut drastically. Moving on from this defeat, Clinton began to address his main goal, healthcare reform. Clinton wanted to fix America's broken system, which revolved around employers and private insurance companies. Clinton was advised that there would be great pushback from doctors who had gotten used to pushing expensive procedures and from private insurance companies whose revenues continued to grow. Despite this advice, Clinton decided to appoint his wife Hillary to come up with a comprehensive reform plan. The task force she led came up with a plan for universal health care coverage that would allow for private insurance companies to continue and remain competitive, and that required employers to continue funding benefits. The plan ultimately failed as liberals wanted further government involvement and conservatives pushed for less. Concerns grew over Clinton being an ineffective president who contributed to government gridlock. Next is Clinton's biggest success in his first term, anti-crime legislation. Clinton proposed a plan to fund 100,000 new police officers, introduced a federal death penalty, and promised fewer death row appeals. Senate approved an expanded version of this bill, and so did the House. When the final bill reached Clinton's desk, it included $8.8 billion in funding for over 100,000 new police officers, $7.9 billion to help states build new prisons, and $6.9 billion towards social programs to stop crime. While this was happening, a new era of Republicans emerged, headed by Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. These new Republicans became more adept at reaching the broader public, and due to their portrayal of Clinton as a big spender, won the House by a vast margin in 1994. Gingrich and the new Republicans wanted to use budget resolution funding to shrink the federal government and send block grants back to the states. House Republicans laid out a plan to cut $1.5 trillion in spending in 7 years. Clinton and the Democrats pushed for full transparency of these plans, which showed the intent to slash Medicare and Medicaid budgets. Clinton and Gingrich could not agree, and the government shut down. Eventually, a budget was adopted where Gingrich did most of the conceding, and Clinton looked like the clear winner. After winning his second campaign, Clinton decided to focus his limited discretionary budget on education reforms. He was successful, but his progress slowed after a sexual scandal with Monica Lewinsky was brought to the light, and Republicans successfully impeached Clinton in the House. He remained in office and continued to try and pass gun reform laws with little success and Social Security reform with no success. Despite these seemingly lost causes, Clinton did have two major successes in his term. The first was a bill that prevented private insurance companies from discriminating against mental health, and the second was the Children's Health Insurance Program that gave $20 billion to states to provide health insurance to uninsured children. The end of Clinton's second term came with some unexpected good news: a budget surplus. Unfortunately, the strained relationship between both parties was still in full swing, and the government could not come to an agreement on how to spend this surplus. Conservatives pushed for tax cuts, while liberals wanted investments in social programs. Another gridlock. Finally, Clinton was pushing for legislation to help minority populations in the U.S. He advocated for the protection of affirmative action, a woman's right to choose, and immigrants' rights. He was not able to push much legislation through the Republican House in these areas, but was successful in establishing the Adoption and Safe Families Act that sped up adoptions for children in foster care. What we can learn from the Clinton administration is that it is very difficult to create and pass budget plans. Each party has different ideas of where funding should go, and party polarization makes it more difficult to agree. The policies that Clinton was able to get through, like the Earned Income Tax Credit that cut taxes for working families with moderate income, proved that an involved government can be very helpful to citizens of the United States. As social workers, there are many different policies and programs full of government funding that we need to be familiar with so we can help our clients effectively.